Welcome everyone. It's really great to have you with us this morning. We'll just do a quick round of introductions. This is the Electric South team representing today, by the way, because we're talking specifically about this open call for artists, which we are implementing with IFAS for this project. So they are not on the call today, but they are our partners on all things Futures Past. So I just want to give a big shout out to Sophia and Lauren and everyone at IFAS who are working on this with us. So from the Electric South team, we have Adjoa. Can I hand it over to you to just say hello and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Adjoa Ankoma. I'm part of the Electric South team. I lead our policy and research efforts. Welcome to this webinar today.
We don't have Miklali. All right. Well, Miklali is the project manager on this Futures Past project. So he is managing all things across all the different elements of this project, which we will talk about in a second. Kanda, you want to just say hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Good. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Kanda Kinshish. I am a video on. I am a what's happening with my video effects? Immersive media producer, and I am a consultant producer on the Electric South team, and glad to be with you all here today. Welcome.
Thanks, Kanda. So Kanda is going to be really managing the production side of all of these projects. As you know, once the artists are selected and everything's rolling, Kanda's really going to be across all of that because, as you can imagine, between 6 archives and 6 immersive teams, there's going to be a lot of moving parts. And then behind the scenes, we've got Sade. Sade, do you want to say hello?
Hey everyone, just making sure we have our technical under wrap. And if you have any technical issues, please just hit me up in the chat box.
Thanks,
yeah,
Sade.
that'll be it. Thanks.
Thank you. Miklali, I think you are there now.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Ingrid. Yes, so as Ingrid has said, I'm Mihlali Nsabo, the project manager for the Futures Past program. Literally your go-to reference for anything you'd like to know more about the program outside of this webinar. And we're excited to actually have this webinar with you guys.
Great. And there's Kanda with her real background. Welcome back. Okay, fantastic. So thank you so much to all of you on this webinar for taking time out on a Monday morning. I'm sure you all have a lot to do. We really appreciate it. For those of you who are with us at Fagugezi, it was really wonderful to see you there. So let's just get straight in. I am going to share my screen just so that I have a little visual reference. So actually, maybe while that's happening, I can just let you know this webinar, we're just really going to give you an overview. I know probably one of your biggest questions is going to be around the archives themselves, and we are going to have a follow-up webinar in 2 weeks' time with the archives present so that you can ask them really, specific, detailed questions about what they have in their archives. I know that obviously is a big requirement for a lot of you to know a little bit more about the archives. So that will be coming up in 2 weeks. But we wanted to do this webinar first because, because we know that you're going to need to be putting teams together and really thinking about all the requirements of the project. So we thought it was really important just to give you a sense of all the things that we're going to be needing from you to submit to this initiative. So the first thing I want to say, I'm still not getting screen sharing abilities. Why is that? Sorry, everyone. I just can't share my screen so I can show you. Share, here we go. I've got it now. Thank you. Okay, let's find. Okay, 1 second. Sorry about this. Right, here we go. Okay, hopefully you can all see my screen now. So the first thing I want to just mention is that this project was instituted by the French Institute of South Africa with funding from the French embassy fund. So it's a big conglomerate of different partners working on this together. Electric South is the implementing partner, so you will be working mostly with us on this. So we're managing this call for applications, and if you are selected, we are the team that will be working with you to make sure you have all the resources that you need. And I just wanted to quickly run through some of the other. Oh, hang on, now it's frozen. What is going on with this? Sorry about this. There we go. This project has 3 core components. So there's a sector mapping and policy study, which Ajwa is going to speak to in a second. Then there's the creation of the 6 original immersive digital storytelling projects, which I think is why you are all here. And these will be taking place across South Africa, Lesotho, and Malawi. And then there's also a mobility and networking program, which the selected projects will also be part of, which means that if you are selected for this, one member of your team and one member of the selected archive will be traveling to France to meet with producers, to see how museums and galleries and cultural spaces in France are exhibiting immersive work. So that is a big part of this project as well, and that will be happening in early 2026. Ajwa, can I hand it over to you to talk about the sector mapping and policy study? You're muted. Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry, you can't unmute yourself. Oh, this is very strange. Sorry, for some reason we're having every single glitch you could possibly.
There we go. Thank you, Ingrid. Hi, everyone. As I said, I'm Ajwa Nkoma, and I lead the policy and research efforts here at Electric South. As part of this Futures Past project, we are launching a mapping and policy study across the 3 countries, South Africa, Lesotho, and Malawi. We're kicking off tomorrow on the 14th with a women's only focus group to see if there are any gendered issues that we can learn from this study. And then on the 15th, we will be launching our survey. So please look out for the survey. Please fill it in if you see it. The intention is that we get to map everybody who is operating in this immersive arts ecosystem across the 3 countries. If you would like to be involved or you would like to help us to spread this message, please can you reach out to us at research@electricsouth.org. Thank you.
Thanks, Ajwa. So we just thought it was important that you hear from Ajwa and hear about the sector mapping and policy study aspect of this project, because although it's not obviously part of this open call, many of you working in the sector will be involved with the study we're doing. And it's really important for us that, beyond these 6 projects, we're really looking at what's happening in the sector, what's missing, what help you need, really kind of thinking about how we build for the future beyond, the 6 projects that we will be working on. So, it's very important for us. I'm sure, for all of you working in the sector, we know that things go up and down, or maybe round and round. The markets and the opportunities are constantly changing. So we really want to kind of take the temperature of where we're all at now so that we can really think about how we can build better for the future together. So we're hoping you will all be part of that. Right. Okay. So let's go on to the next slide, if my slides will work. Oh my goodness me. What is going on with these? There we go. So these are the 6 archives. And as I said, you're going to have an opportunity to talk to representatives from all 6 archives in the next webinar that we're going to run. We've got the Royal Archives in Lesotho, the Music Crossroads in Malawi. We've got the Gala Queer Archive in South Africa, the Iziko Museums in South Africa, the Kwatu in South Africa, and the National Film, Video and Sound Archives in South Africa. So those are the 6 archives we're working with. This project does span South Africa, Lesotho, and Malawi. And we are hoping that we will have representatives from all 6 countries making work. What we are requiring from your teams, and I'm sure some of you have looked at the open call already. I know it's very, very long and a little bit complex, and I just want to talk a little bit about why the thinking behind some of that. One of the things we really want to make sure is that teams are applying for this initiative. The reason for that is it's a big job in quite a short period of time. The budgets will range from 500,000 Rand to 1.2 million Rand, depending on what it is that you are proposing and what it is that you want to do. And there will also be a lot of mentorship, obviously, from our side in the mobility program that I mentioned. But we really do need strong, strong teams that can deliver these projects. So the core teams that we are requiring are a director, a technologist, and a producer. And then there's a capacity building element of this Futures Past initiative. So we are also requiring you to apply with a trainee assistant producer, which is, can I ask if anyone has any questions that you pop them into the chat or the Q&A so Mkhlali can monitor that? Just because I'm going to keep going for a while, but we'll make sure that we get to all your questions. So a director, technologist, a producer, and then a trainee assistant producer. And the assistant producer needs to be under the age of 30. This is a very specific capacity training program for younger people. So that could be someone you're already working with that you really want to kind of, get their skills up a little bit. It could be someone that you've identified that you think has a lot of potential. We will be doing a lot of training with them with online webinars. But we want you to apply with someone that you're really excited about working with, because we want this to be someone who will become part of your team, and that really feels part of the project. So that's why that person is part of the core team that you're applying with. The director must be from or resident in the country where the archive is based. So if they're not currently living there, they need to be able to get to the archive within the budget of the project. There is an extra travel money. The budget is the budget. So you must be able to get to those archives to do the work. And for the same reason, it's preferable that the other key team members are also from or residing in the country where the archive is based. But if that's not the case, we just require that they be in Africa. So you can have remote teams as long as you have the capacity to work remotely, and you have a setup where that can work. So that's the core requirements. The director must be from or residing in the country where the archive is based. The other team members may be remote as long as they are within Africa. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is obviously some of you might be director producers or technologists and directors. That is absolutely fine. We just require in the submission form that you make it clear, that you've got skills in both areas. So just to cover why that's important to us, we want to make sure that if you are a director who's also producing, you really have hardcore producing skills, because doing both when you aren't don't have experience in both can be a huge burden. And this project has to be completed by around August 2026. So it really is going to be around sort of a 7-month project. So pretty fast turnaround. You're going to be working with archives that you may not have worked with before. So we want to make sure we've got a team in place who really know how to do projects on deadline, and that you've got all the relevant skills in your core team. Beyond the core team, you are absolutely, of course, able to list other people who you'd be working with. So as long as you apply with this core team, you can also say, I've got this person doing this specific job, and I've already lined up this person to do this specific job. That's fantastic. I mean, the more you, the more details you want to give us, the better. But for this particular open call, we just need these 4 key team members. Okay, Mkhlali, if there are any specific issues you want to raise as we go, please do interrupt me. All right, I'm going to keep going, and then once I kind of run through everything, we can go to questions, and then you can ask me anything that isn't clear. Eligible immersive formats. I want to make it clear that we are really open to a wide range of ways of making immersive media and bringing publics into your pieces. One of the things that we're really excited about with this project is that we are taking these archives, some of whom are quite hard to access, and have not really been like sort of particularly accessible to the public. And we are creating pieces that are really public facing. So this does not limit you to augmented and virtual reality, for example. You can do things with projection mapping and responsive environments, sensors, sound, capture. So you could be using volumetric photogrammetry, LiDAR, motion capture. We're thinking that there may be like spaces that you are kind of creating immersive spaces where the audience potentially can trigger certain things to happen, so it can be interactive. It really is up to you to tell us what it is that you would like to do, and you can make the argument for why it is immersive. What we are not open to, though, is traditional film formats. And by that, we also mean things like multiple screen experiences, right? It has to be truly immersive. And again, you can always make the argument in your application for why the idea that you're proposing is immersive, but we really do need that argument in there. So just to reiterate, this is not a traditional film or photography call for entries. We need to see that the project that you are proposing is immersive. And I guess another thing I should mention is we don't require all of these in your project proposals. In fact, we'd be a little bit worried if you do list everything. This really is about thinking about what you can do with the budget within 7 months that will really work, right? So sometimes it's something very simple and effective. So we're definitely not thinking that you're going to throw everything in there. This is just a list of things to give you an idea of where we're thinking these things might go, and just to kind of give you a sense of how we're thinking about immersive. Once you are selected, you will receive the project funding. As I mentioned, that will range between 500,000 and 1.2 million rand, South African rand. That will be provided in tranches based on deliverables. We will be working with you specifically. You will be working with Canda on those tranches and making sure that you are meeting the requirements. You will get access to the archival collections and guidance from the archivists who work there. There will be mentorship from regional and international experts, including the mobility program to France. You will get production support and technical resources from Electric South. Again, that is very much support. We are expecting you to have your own technical teams in place. And then once the project is done, there will also be an opportunity for public exhibition wherever the archives are based, either in the archives themselves or in a partner institution. And there will be an additional support for that, including additional financial support. So we will be working with you and the archives to make sure that those projects are exhibited for at least 3 months, possibly longer. And I just want to add that there's also real interest in touring those exhibitions once they've been in their first exhibit. So there's a lot of interest and support from the IFAS side if that should happen. So that's the kind of overview on what you will receive. And then just to run through some important dates. Well, we are on the second important date right now. This is the webinar. There will be another webinar, which we haven't announced yet. And I just want to let you know that everyone on this who signed up for this webinar will get a email about the date of that second webinar to talk to the archives. The call closes on the 9th of November. I really encourage you to try and get it in before the 9th of November if you can. It's always really great, to have proposals coming in before the deadline. That said, we do really understand that this is a big call. There's a lot of requirements. It'll take a while to put things together. We absolutely understand that. So just to say, if you need up to the 9th of November, of course, that's absolutely fine. But if you can get it in before that, that's wonderful. We will let everyone know by the end of November. And then the rest of the year will be contracting between the projects and the archives. The plan is that the projects will then go into production in early 2025. Sorry, we are in 2025, in early 2026, with project delivery by the end of August 2026. And then the exhibition will run in the latter half of 2026. So that's the overview of the project. I just want to say very quickly around the contracting, we understand that the archives are very, very different. They are, some of them are government archives, some of them are private archives, they're in different countries, et cetera, et cetera. We also understand that a lot of the archives are working with communities and have very important relationships with communities. And we also understand that the artists who are selected are going to be, working in really different ways. So the contracts will be bespoke. They will be designed for the particular project. And there will be a lot of, there'll be some scope to sort of really figure out how that works in terms of IP and things. So I just want to mention that now, but we are really looking for teams who are really open to collaboration. And we do see this as a co-creation between the teams and the archives. So we're looking for teams who are open to that kind of relationship. And we will be helping. Kanda will be working with the selected teams and the archives on that process. We will have templates and we will really help you work through all of that. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is this email, info@electricsouth.org. If you have any questions along the way, if you get stuck with the application form, if you have any technical issues, please just email us and we'll get straight back to you. So that email is always available. Me or Mkhlali or someone else from the team will be checking it and we'll make sure that we get back to you as soon as possible. So at any point after this webinar, if you have further questions, just drop us an email and we will get back to you, because we realize we're not, I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions now, and then other questions will come up as you're applying, and as you're filling out the form that you might need some help with. And we are here for you every step of the way. We're really keen to give you as much support as possible, to put your best foot forward. We're very excited to see all of these teams applying, and we want to help you get there. So please do be in touch with us. Okay, so that's the general overview. I think we should open for questions. I have a few other things I want to touch on, but I do want to get to your questions because that's why we're all here. So Mkhlali, do you want to take it away?
Yes. Hi. So we have two questions. The first one being, for small teams still forming, can we apply with partial teams and add members later before contracting? And are there any recommended ratios between creative and technical roles within a team? So, for example, can one person handle both creative direction and production?
Yep. So that's a good question. So the answer is no, you have to have your team in place, just the minimum team, right? So you just need to have the producer, the director. This is the background and it's making my fingers look really weird. You need to have the producer, the director, and the technologist, as well as your trainee producer on board when you apply. So that's why I'm saying I would definitely use this time now to really start to think about who that team is. If you are doing two of those roles, that's absolutely fine. You still need to fill out the form with your name in both of those roles, though, with evidence that you have done both of those roles. So it's absolutely fine to be the producer and the director, as long as you have experience producing and directing. And again, it's totally fine to be the director and the technologist, as long as you have experience in both roles, right? Because we don't want people doing a role for the first time for this project, because it is such a complex and fast-moving project. We really need to know that you've got a background, in the role that you're applying for. So you do need to have your teams in place by the 9th of November. Just the core team, right? Just the 4 roles that we're requiring. All the additional roles, so if you need someone doing specific assets, you need a modeler, or, there's one very particular technical role that you haven't filled, that's absolutely fine. You can add those later. And you don't actually even need to put anything in the additional roles. That's an optional section of the questionnaire. So it really is just about making sure you've got your core team members.
Yeah. Could I read the next question?
Yep.
Sure. So how detailed should our proposal be at submission if concepts will evolve after archive consultation?
Sorry, say that last bit again.
I'll just read the entire question again. So how detailed should our proposal be at submission if concepts will evolve after archive consultation?
Yeah. So listen, we are really aware of the fact that you are making a proposal for archives that you probably haven't seen. Even after the archive webinar, which will follow this one, if you haven't had a chance to actually go and dig through the archives and look at what they've got, we totally understand that it is really just giving us a sense of possibility. So it absolutely can change. At this point, what we are asking for is an idea of your approach to an archive, right? So it can be like, based on what I know, this is something that I think would be really interesting. This is an approach I would take. But absolutely, like if you are selected, you would then have a chance to go and see the archives. Your project could absolutely evolve. So I would say, as long as it evolves within the budget, and it can be done within 7 months, there is absolutely room for a lot of movement between selection and production. That's why we'll have this time for contracting. During that, I would imagine there'll be a lot of pre-production going on. So, absolutely, there will be time then. And I'm sorry, I'm just seeing another question saying, are archives expecting us to call them? I would say no. At this point, to have the archives being called by a lot of different people applying for this is going to be overwhelming for them. Some of these archives are really small and, don't have a lot of resources. Part of what we're trying to do is actually really kind of help a mix of archives. So I would say wait for the webinar, which will be in 2 weeks' time, and you can ask them questions then. But yeah, I wouldn't all be suddenly calling these archives, because as I said, we are aware that your project idea will be a preliminary idea, and we really just want to get an idea of what you're excited about, and that could be a very early kind of sense of possibilities. We're not expecting this is exactly how it's going to work and, boom, 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 boom. We just want to get a sense of what you're excited about creating.
Yeah. So we'll take a few more questions in the webinar chat now. So, there's a question here, Ingrid, that asks, in our application, can we include other equipment we may not have?
Yes, so I would say we are expecting you to have all the equipment you need using the project budget, if that makes sense. So if you don't currently have the equipment you need, you would need to get hold of that equipment within the project budget. There will be a little bit of a separate budget for exhibition, as I mentioned. But in terms of the capacity to make this project, you need to have everything in your team to make the project within the budget. So if you don't have the equipment, you don't necessarily have to tell us about that in the proposal, in the application, but you do need to make a plan for how you would, be able to get that within the budget. So I'm saying that because if it is something that's incredibly expensive and complex, you may need to rethink the idea, right? Because that budget has to cover all the equipment you need, the production, the fees, the travel if required, everything has to go into that budget. So if you want to build a mocap studio and buy yourself a LiDAR scanner, and et cetera, you might need to rethink the scope.
Okay. Another question is, how much guidance will the museum team give on what they are hoping for? We can propose an idea and spend a month fine-tuning it, but what if the museum is not keen on that?
Yeah, so this is where, I say co-creation, and it is a very easy word to say and quite a difficult thing to implement. I would say we are very, and this is something that we're going to be giving guidance as Electric South, and something that Cand is going to be really helping to steer. We are really aware that you are the creative team and you will be leading the creative vision, right? So I would say you shouldn't worry too much about that in terms of the creative vision, because that is coming from you. That is why we're having an open call for artists. But there are a few caveats to that. You know, some of these archives hold cultural memory and artifacts of living communities who have been extracted from and sidelined and had their stories essentially stolen. And we want to be really intentional about not doing that with this project. So that's why I keep talking about co-creation. I think it really depends on the archive. You know, these archives are wildly different. And it depends on your approach, but I think there will need to be a little bit of give and take on how these projects evolve and how the communities represented in the archives are included. So, you know, that's a very long, complicated way of saying it really depends, and you need to be open to a little bit of give and take. The idea that you propose is going to have to shift a little bit once you start working with the archives. But that said, you know, you are the artists, and we are going to respect your creative vision as much as we can. So I hope that makes sense. It is going to be a little bit of a give and take. We will help you manage that. That is what Candor will be here for. And we are really aware that these things can be quite complicated. And, you know, as Electric South, we're kind of we're creating templates and ways to make that as smooth as possible. But that's kind of the way we're going to be doing this project.
All right. Another question. Have the 6 projects been alerted to the closing date of 9 November and what the process is?
The 6 archives, yes, they're aware of the process. And they will, like I said, be participating in a future webinar, so you can ask them, you know, further questions about their archives. But yes, they're aware of the process. We've also, you know, we've spoken to them one-on-one about this whole co-creation aspect and how it might evolve. And they are also aware of the give and take required. And I guess, you know, one thing I should say outright is this is absolutely not a case where the archive is going to come to you and say, we want you to make this for us, right? It's not that kind of project. So you can be rest assured that, you know, the ideas that you are coming up with will be respected as long as you are open to a little bit of give and take in terms of how they evolve.
Yeah. Now the question is, we are open to collaboration. Will we get results of the survey/mapping to see who might fit?
The survey and the mapping and that whole project is actually only going to be published later next year. It's an ongoing project, so the survey is just the beginning of. There's going to be a whole rollout with travel to the countries. But if you do need help with team members who might fit, you can get in touch with us at the info@Electric South email address, and we can try to work with you. But I would say for a project like this, we are expecting that you would already have people like that in your orbit. So ideally, you would be able to put together the team already. But if there is a gap, like, for example, you don't know a producer or potentially a technologist, you could get in touch with us. But we are really looking for people who've already worked in teams and would be able to put together a team like this. But absolutely, if there is one gap, you know, let us know and we can help you with some suggestions.
Yeah. Another question, can the experience have any physical elements, or should it be fully digital?
It can absolutely involve physical and digital, as long as there is a digital immersive component. But if that digital component, for example, requires an installation where there are some physical aspects of the archive present, for example, that would be absolutely fantastic, actually, bringing the physical and the analog together. But obviously, that also would be a conversation between you and the archives, because some of these archives could probably be exhibited and maybe some other pieces couldn't. So I think that really depends. But yes, absolutely, as long as there is a physical immersive element, if you want to mix that with analog aspects of the archives, I think that could be really effective.
And one last question, are there any creative limits to how much we can reimagine or remix the archival material?
Yeah, very good question. And the answer is yes. So I think this goes back to, the original point around the relationship between you and the archives. These archives are, like I said, holding cultural memory. There are a lot of historical elements that are very sensitive. And what we don't want is these archives to be reinterpreted in ways that are not ethical or that are not respectful. So while there is a creative element to the project, we really need to make sure that the integrity of the archives is held intact. And you will be working with the archivists to make sure that that is the case. So there is, a huge amount of creative variety possible. And there are ways of, maintaining the integrity of the archives while doing incredibly, creative imaginings. But you absolutely can't reinterpret the archives in a way that would make the archives feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Like would, have any kind of misinformation or disinformation or feel extractive, things like that. And that's why, and it's very hard to talk about these things in the theoretically without being specific. That's why there will be this long contracting period where you will work with the archives to figure a lot of this stuff out. But it is really important to us that the archives feel respected while the work can live in a different way.
Yeah, I think those are all the questions that we have so far.
Any other questions? I'm sure a lot of you just want to speak to the archives. I know I mean, I've already spoken to a lot of artists who are really, really keen on getting more information on the archives, and we absolutely understand that. So we'll definitely make sure that that happens in the next webinar. Any more questions on the scope of there's one thing I did want to mention on the scope of the exhibition. I mentioned that there is some support that will be coming from this project. It's not huge. So I think one of the things to also think about when you are designing your production is just to think about the exhibition and to make sure that it's not something that's going to require, huge amounts of installation budget. Some of the institutions may be able to support that with budget from their own institutions. So then with some of the projects, there may be an opportunity to raise the budget, and that would be, a discussion that you would have, once you're working with the institutions. But it's not something you can depend on. And another important thing I wanted to mention is we welcome co-productions or any other kind of budget, coming into this project. The trip to France will be part of us supporting that process. You'll be able to meet with potential co-producers there. But the timeline is quite tight for a full co-production. So, if there are already other resources you can bring to the project, that's absolutely something we would be open to. I see another question. How will the final decision be made on the project selected? We are going to have a jury. We had a jury for the archive selection as well. So there will be a jury which will be made up of immersive practitioners as well as some archive representatives, not from the selected archives, but people who work in archives generally who can speak to the needs of archives. So it'll be a mixed jury who will work with us along a criteria to make the final decisions. Oh, Michlali, I don't know. Can I unmute you? I think I can unmute you. Sade, can you unmute Michlali?
Yes, I'm back.
There he is. He is there.
Yeah, we have two more questions in the chat box. The first one being, is it realistic to finalize idea, concept, and contracting over December and January?
Well, this is where, I have to say it's going to have to be. We are going to be working to a really tight timeline. So we are just going to require everyone to work very, very quickly. We realize that Christmas is going to be, everyone's going to disappear. That's absolutely fine. We have built that into our schedule. So we're not expecting people to be working on the 25th of December on their contracts. But we do want everyone to start in early December in earnest and be willing to commit to that and then pick it up again in late January. And that project cannot drag on. So, it is just something where we are really asking the archives. I mean, we've already made this clear to them, and we will be expecting that from the selected projects as well, that they are going to have to work together very nimbly. And that the pre-production and contracting it's going to have to be quick because these projects have to be wrapped by August. Now, that said, if people need a little bit more time, that's fine, but they still have to deliver by August. So if the contracting needs to go into February, it just means there'll be less time for production, which is fine as long as everyone's open to that. We will work with the teams, and obviously each team will be different in terms of their needs. But this is definitely a project, and I'll say this very clearly now. If you are working in an institution or you are working with a team who can't work like that, this is probably not the project for you. We really need to be able to work very, very quickly and turn things around very, very fast, because this project is going to be very fast moving. So you kind of need to be up for that challenge.
Okay. Can I move on to the next question?
Yep, of course.
If we are in contact with the archives already, should we mention that in the application?
Yes, absolutely. So we know that some people are already working with archives in various ways. Absolutely mention that in your application, of course. Yeah, yeah. We want to know what your relationship is, and it's very, the more information we have, the better. So absolutely, yes, please.
Another question. As a creative with 8 years of experience in art direction, design, and illustration, given I'll be collaborating with an experienced producer, would I be eligible to take on the director role in that case?
I think if you can make a case that you are able to do that, we would definitely consider that, but you would need to definitely have a very experienced producer in that case, because if it's the first time you're directing something, we would really need to know that there's a safe pair of hands. So I think we would take it in the balance of the team. But I do want to reiterate that this is not a project, to try something for the first time. We are looking for teams who have kind of done work, not necessarily with archives, but done immersive work before. You understand the workflows, you understand the challenges. You're using slightly different technology this time, but it's not your first rodeo. So this definitely isn't a capacity building project, or a training project. Apart from the trainee assistant producer, we are expecting everyone to come to the table with experience. But I also understand that there is some slippage between roles, and I would say just make that argument. Show us the work you've done, and we'll absolutely take that into consideration.
Yeah, so I think those are all the questions we have for now. We've already answered the questions as to how the projects will be selected, the
Yeah.
final projects.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a link to the application form, so you can go through that. I would say I really recommend that you go through the application form, even if you're not ready to fill it out, just so you can see all the questions in there. It is quite a long form. I do apologize. I totally realize that this is labor for all of you, and at the moment it's free labor. We don't take that lightly, but at the same time, we just need this information. We really went through each question very carefully to think about whether, we really need that information to make the decision. And there isn't anything in there that is sort of in there just to make you work harder, I assure you. So yeah, just take a look at the form so you can make sure, even if you want to leave it, another few weeks before you fill it out, just get a sense of what's required, because it will help you really think about what you need to put together, in order to get there. And again, you can always email us, like I said, if you need help, getting in contact with other possible team members. And if any questions come up as you're filling out the form, if anything's not clear, just email us. Yeah, and Michlali's just posted the FAQs as well. any other
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah, I think those are all the questions we have.
Can I just ask Candor, is there anything I haven't mentioned that you want to raise? And I say that, and now I don't know how to unmute you. Sade maybe can unmute you. Yeah, there we go.
Thanks. I think you've covered it all quite well, Ingrid. I think obviously there's as we go, there'll be more and more questions as you unpack more things and more questions that are in the forms. Yeah, and just like Ingrid was saying, it will be a tight timeline, but there will be support, and we will during the design phase with the institutions and the archives and contracting, we'll make sure to leverage our expertise to make sure that whatever is designed and whatever the final agreement looks like in terms of what you're going to make, what the budget timeline is going to look like, is doable. So we will work together as a team to make sure that you can achieve what it is that you want to achieve, and that, obviously the archives are happy, and that it's achievable within the timelines and the budget. So I just wanted to underline that there is support.
Yeah, I think that's really important because obviously, we do know that this is a big project in a short period of time, and we're not just going to say, off you go, see you later, we'll see you in August, good luck. We will be working with you every step of the way. And just on the contracting question, we are drafting contracts that we will be using as templates for you to build on. So even there, we have an idea of the design of the contracting, which we will then help you, work through. So I think it's just really important to, make it clear that you're not going to be on your own. There will be a lot of support from our side, and from IFAS, and we will be connecting you to a lot of expertise as well. So as much as I just said, we want teams who have experience, we realize that, everyone has gaps in their knowledge or hasn't tried things in a particular way before, and we will be helping to kind of fill those gaps as much as we can. So if you need a little bit more help on a particular creative technology or a particular production dilemma, we can help you with those things. You don't have to have experience in every aspect of this kind of work, because we know that this is a gap, right, in Southern Africa. There isn't a lot of funding often to do this kind of work, hence this project. But because there isn't a lot of funding, it means that there are a lot of gaps in skills and talent and expertise, and we want to help fill those gaps with this project, partly with this project. So that's where the support comes in. So you won't be alone. You won't be expected to know everything, and we will be helping you along the process. I think just, and I'm going to reiterate this because it's really important, you just need to have an appetite for co-creation, a little bit of collaboration, which can be hard. And you need to be able to work quite quickly, right? So if you are, if you are feeling already like this timeline is going to be really tight and uncomfortable, or you need too many permissions to get it done, it just might not be the right project, because everyone is going to have to work quite quickly to get to August. And I know August feels like very far away, but it's not. It's going to be here before we all know it, which is strange to say in October, but there you go.
Yeah, and maybe if I can just add a little bit about the levels of experience that are required. Yeah, from a director point of view, if you've directed immersive projects before, that would be ideal. If you have directed something that is adjacent or aligned with the immersive work that you want to, but maybe it's pushing yourself a little bit further, please do apply. I will definitely consider that, and certainly in terms of producing as well. So if you've produced like a game before and this is maybe a VR experience, we will help obviously to come come in and help you understand the transition to that and offer support there. So you will be assessed on your application in terms of how much experience you have, but it doesn't have to be like if you're proposing to do like an AR experience in the town or something like that, it won't, and you have never done that before, but you've produced a game or something else, then that's close enough.
Yeah.
Right, Ingrid, am I?
Yeah. No, absolutely,
right?
absolutely. Yes, experience can be applied in different directions for sure. Yeah, you do not need to have experience in the exact same thing you're doing. You don't have to have experience working with museums or galleries. It's just experience where you're looking at, and ideally experience where we can see that you would be able to take that experience and maybe pivot it into a slightly different direction. Absolutely. Yes, the archives do. There's another question. Do the archives understand how quickly this needs to be done? They do. They do. Listen, we all realize there are going to be, again, collaboration is not easy. There are definitely going to be sticking points along the way. We are going to be managing that. But yes, it's I would say in terms of how quickly things need to be done, a lot of that will be actually off the archive's shoulder. So once you're up and running and you have access to what you need to have access to, we are hoping that the archives are not going to be needing to be involved on a day-to-day basis because they don't have the capacity to do that. But again, it really depends on the archive. Some are going to want to be more hands-on than others. And that is something you are going to have to work out with the archives, but they know the turnaround. They've signed up for this. The archives are fully committed from the highest authority, right? So it's not just like one person saying, we think this would be a good idea. There is commitment from leadership. So everyone is up for this. But, I know that these things they're easier said than done, right? So we know that there is going to be a little bit of friction along the way. We will help manage that. But again, you need to be open to a project that is not, because you don't have control over everything, you need to be open to a certain degree of flexibility.
Right. We have another question.
Sorry, go ahead.
So is this a once-off project, or will Electric South in the future work with another selection of archives on the African continent and send another call for applications?
We're just doing it one project at a time at the moment. So for now, we don't have any plans to do any future projects. But, of course, I mean, if this project really fills a gap, because these archives really do need more public engagement, some more than others. And we would, of course, consider doing a future rollout, but there's no plans at the moment. For now, this is the project. Yeah, there's no plans for any future iterations yet. For those of you who are interested in the immersive sector mapping, that will be, like I said, published towards the middle of next year. So we will be making a lot of that publicly available. But yes, for now, that's an ongoing project. So just to reiterate, we won't have any of that available for this call. Any final questions?
With just 1 minute left to go, I want to encourage everybody to drop their questions at the info@electricsouth.org email address, and we'll definitely get those answered. And then also this webinar will be up on our YouTube channel for anybody that wants to come and plug back in. And then we do have everybody's email addresses as well. And we'll be sharing content with you shortly after this call.
Thanks, Sade. Yeah. And the archive webinar will happen in the next 2 weeks. So we'll be in touch with those dates this week. We'll let you know in the next couple of days. Definitely by Friday, you'll have the next webinar date. So thank you so much. Miklali has also dropped his personal email, his Electric South email in the chat. So please also reach out to him. As he said, he's project managing the whole of Futures Past, so he can answer questions about the mapping. He can answer questions about this part of it. The mobility program as it becomes that'll happen in 2026. So any questions to Maclali or info@electricsouth.org, and we will get back to you. And otherwise, we look forward to seeing you on the archive webinar. Please take a look at the application form, because I think a lot of questions will come up once you see it. And we'd love to answer those before the 9th of November, please. Please don't be emailing us on the 9th of November, because that is never a good day to get responses. Try and get all your questions in the next couple of weeks. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm sorry about all the glitches at the beginning. Technology will technology, as we like to say. And it's never, you can never have everything sewn up. So there you go. We can all be vulnerable. It was lovely to have you all here on a Monday morning with us. Let us know any questions. We'll see you on the archive webinar, and good luck with your applications. We're really honored that you are considering this project. Thank you so much.